Hello and welcome to Jijo Speaks. This is a video for all the CLAT aspirants. I know that the videos of CLAT is very less in my channel, but I'm thinking I should put at least one video per week to help all the CLAT aspirants in their journey to make it to the top national law universities in this country. And in this particular video, I'm going to pick up logical reasoning. And this is one area that I've seen many people struggling and wanting to know how to deal with it. So what I'll do is I'll start with some basic principles and then pick up a question from CLAT 2023, last year's paper, and then use that to see how we can navigate this particular section. Now, I'll start by asking this question as to why are we finding logical reasoning difficult? The reason we are finding logical difficult, my gut feeling, is because is what is happening with respect to your mocks. In the mocks, you are struggling with this section. You're getting low scores. You're probably managing legal. You're probably managing English. We are doing what we can with respect to GK, and math is quantitative techniques is quantitative techniques, but logical reasoning, we know it's very important to us, but we cannot get a handle of it. But I think if you actually look at the CLAT papers, look at the last 3 years CLAT papers, actual CLAT questions, you will find that logical reasoning is not that difficult. I believe that mocks have some tough logical reasoning questions, options that is troubling you, but you actually look at the CLAT, is not difficult. So the point is, just because the mocks are troubling you does not mean the CLAT is going to be difficult, at least from what I've seen in the last 3 years. That's number one. So what does logical reasoning in the CLAT test you? The logical reasoning in the CLAT eventually tests you to evaluate arguments. That's all it tests you, right? And I hope that you understand what an argument is. Argument is simply we are trying to make some claim, prove something by giving a lot of justifications or reasons. That's what an argument is. I could probably want to, let's say for example, what I want to prove is you should pursue law, right, as a career. Law, the reason that you're giving, law helps you make a lot of money. Let's say that. Therefore, you should pursue law as a career. That I'm just making an argument. What you see is that we are trying to prove this. To prove this, we are using this as a justification. In logic, you know that this justification are called premises or premise of an argument. Reasons, evidence, justification you give to arrive at what is known as a conclusion. And these two things put together are what is known as argument. That is an argument, right? That's it. Now, in a particular passage, there is something that the author wants to prove. And the author gives reasons and justification to prove that particular point. And what you're asked to do is to evaluate that argument. Maybe you will get a question which is asking you to identify the components of the argument simply by what is the main conclusion of the author, what is the main point of the author, or what are the reasons that the author has given. Maybe the question is asking you to identify the assumptions, something that is necessary for the argument to make sense. Could be law helps you to make a lot of money, you should pursue law. So obviously the assumption A is made that you care about making a lot of money, right? So that is necessary for the argument to make sense, right? So you have assumptions. Then it could be questions which will ask you to draw inferences, which simply means that the things that are true based on the information that is given in the passage. It could even be questions which says that can you evaluate the impact of additional evidences. If a new evidence is being given, how does it impact the argument? Which means which the following will strengthen the argument, weaken the argument. It could be something that author agree and disagree questions, author agreement, disagreement question. A lot of these kind of questions, which is actually saying that can you critically evaluate the argument that is presented in the passage. That's it. But while there are many sort of questions, we end up worrying. Oh, I've got to worry with this kind of question. Strength and weaken question is a problem. Inference is a problem. Assumption sometimes is a problem. But don't worry. The reason why I ask you not to worry is a passage is given to you. And whatever be the question, it doesn't matter what is the question is. Every single question is based on passage and solely on the passage. So it doesn't matter how the question is framed, what the question is trying to do. You just are looking at information set out in the passage. If you understand the argument that is given in the passage, that will be enough to answer any type of question that is given to us. So don't worry too much about the type of questions. Then what we should worry? There are a couple of things. R. There's an argument that is given in form of a passage, which has got multiple paragraphs, maybe two, maybe three paragraphs, sometimes even one paragraph. The first step that we got to do is to read. And that seems like so obvious. But you have to read in a manner which is very effective. We are not reading for information. We should read for structure. Which means, what is the argument structure? And while the standard way to write an argument is premise 1, premise 2, therefore conclusion 3, right? But that's not how it's going to be mentioned here. Author may make the claim in the beginning here, and then 2 and 3 would be used to give justification of the claim. It could be any sort of structure. And I'm reading for structure. That is the first thing, right? The second thing is that I have to retain some information. But I have to retain only the critical information. I have to retain the key ideas. Every paragraph, even though it has got multiple sentences, exists for a certain purpose, a certain reason. And every single paragraph has got, this paragraph will have one idea, this paragraph will have an idea, this paragraph will have an idea. And if I connect these ideas together, I'll get to know the story. And out of it, then I can then say, okay, this was actually the claim, and these two were author's justification of the claim. Or maybe author is talking about a problem, then giving some solution. Maybe author is talking about somebody's view and then telling that that particular view is wrong and give reason as to why that view is wrong. We retain the key idea. Then the third part, third R. What is the third R? Is the question of recalling information. When I go to the question, should I come back to the passage and read the passage once again? Now I want to keep this at the bare minimum. I will only come back if I'm absolutely forced to come back to the passage and read. Otherwise, I really don't want to come back to the passage and read. Why do we keep coming back to the passage? Because these two steps has not happened properly. And why don't these two steps doesn't happen properly? Because we are always worried about speed. We want to read it so fast. Because apparently we have to finish the passage in 5 minutes, 6 minutes, so we just don't have any time. We read so fast. That is, and then we go to the question and we keep coming back to the passage. What is the point? I should read the passage once and that's it. And navigate as many questions as possible. I might come back to the passage for maybe some question forces us to come back to the passage. That's fair. But I cannot be doing that in every single time. This is important. I will not unnecessarily go to the question first and then come to the passage. No, I will read the passage first. Understand what the passage is telling. I'm not asking you to read slow. I'm not asking you to read fast. I'm asking you to read at the pace of your comprehension. Whatever is your pace of comprehension is, that's the pace that you got to use. You have to read better, retain better, and then this step reduces. Now the other thing that we'll have to do is to be the beast. Let me explain what I mean by that. Now you've read the passage. Right? Passage was created by an author. And that particular author had some idea in their mind to communicate to the reader. Now the author's objective is not to confuse the reader. Author wants like, share, subscribe. That's what authors want. Whoever is the audience, author is trying to persuade them. The logical reasoning passages will be very argumentative passage, right? Persuasive writing. Author is trying to persuade the reader. Now we go and then we have this question setter. And the question setter is trying to trap you. And how does the question setter do it? By creating a question and giving 4 answer choices. And in the 4 answer choices, sometimes we get confused between answer choices. One of these answer choices is correct, another answer choices are wrong. And sometimes we are stuck between answer choices. What does it mean? We fall for the option traps. And how are option traps created? That's absolutely simple. See, at the end of the day, whatever is a statement which is aligned to the passage, that would be something that is considered to be true, right? Anything that is aligned to what the passage is can be treated as something that is true. And therefore, what you say is something that is not true. What you call something that is not true. You can say something that is not true is something that is false, correct? And that's the simplest thing to say. Is that it? For example, I'm going to give an example that I probably would have given every single time, but I'm going to do it anyways. The example is very simple. The example is X has been teaching for 20 years. Let's say that's a statement that is given. What inferences can be drawn? Let's say inference number 1, X's teaching experience is more than 5 years. And he would say that particular statement has to be true because the fact that it has been teaching more than 20 years means that it has to teach more than 5 years. That's a true statement. And if I draw an inference that X's teaching experience is less than 3 years, come on, how is that possible? X has been teaching for 20 years. That is this information is definitely false. But what if I draw an inference which is X is married? You can't say it is false. You can't say, this person has been teaching for 20 years. Who will marry him? No. We don't even know the gender of X. What if I say X is a great teacher? Is that true? If someone has been teaching for 20 years, they automatically become a great teacher. X teaches logical reasoning. We don't know. All these are things that I'm going to call something that can't be determined. Cannot be determined. Or I would simply say there are those things which are uncertain. The usual trap is not just giving information that is contradictory, which also can be a wrong answer, right? I mean, the wrong answer can be something that is false. But there are also things that are uncertain. There are three ways I could do it. One, I could just make things that are broad. What does that mean? Let's say the passage says that teachers of physics are doing a great job. And then if I draw a conclusion, I say that therefore teachers are doing a great job. That is a broad sort of conclusion. That's uncertain. What if I add extreme words? Always, never, only, most, best, primary. That is usually uncertain. Not always, of course. If the author has taken an extreme position, then of course, extreme position allowed. But most of the time, authors don't take extreme positions. And what if I put information that is somewhere else, alien option, that is not even part of the passage? Somewhere else. Like for example, married is alien. What if I give you the traps that are sidetrack ones? Let me explain what that is. Now, a particular passage has let's say 3 paragraphs. The question is specifically asking information about, let's say, paragraph 3. I can simply, the answer is right there. I can create a wrong answer by picking some statement from paragraph 1 has got no relation to the question and give that as answer choice. So it will be a true statement but does not answer the question. Or maybe the question is asking which is the main idea. Then I could give a statement which is giving just a detail. So this is a trap that you can normally see questions that are using because it's a very easy trap to create. No, it's very easy to do. I mean, there are a lot of information in the passage. Pick from somewhere else and give it. And there could also be issues with respect to the tone mismatch. Tone mismatch means what? Let's for assume that author is very happy and very positive and saying something, author likes something. Then the answer choice, author should like that. Even the answer choice, author seems to be angry. Then that's a tone mismatch. So these are the things. So what is it? Is it B, broad, E, extreme, A, alien, S, sidetrack, T, tone mismatch. We have got the beast. So be the beast. That's it. Read, retain, and be the beast. This is all. That's it. Let's look at this passage. This is a CLAT 2023 passage which came last year. Actual test. I just picked one passage. There are many more passages. You can go check the rest. So when I'm reading it, I want to read for structure. I want to really understand the author, what the author wants to communicate. I know that there are 3 paragraphs, but not every information in the paragraph is important to me. I'm going to pick up the key ideas and only the key ideas. That's what I'm going to retain. And then I'll slowly connect the story and keep those things in my mind. So let's start reading paragraph number 1. It says, why are humans so susceptible to the doom and gloom of the news? Now that's a question. Question is the great signal. Why is question a great signal? Because if author has raised a question, author would want to answer that question. So what is the question being raised? The issue being raised here is that humans, we are very susceptible to the doom and gloom of the news. We fall for all this bad news. Why? So then author says 2 reasons. Great, wonderful. Okay. The first is what psychologists call negative bias. Alright, we got the first reason is negativity bias. We are more attuned to the bad than the good. That's a negativity bias. We fall for bad than the good news. Back in our hunting and gathering days, we were better off being frightened of a spider or a snake 100 times too often than 1 time too few. Too much fear wouldn't kill you, but too little surely would. For our survival, fear was important. Now, if you actually look at this particular thing, what are these sentences doing? These sentences is merely explaining the fact of negativity bias. I will only focus on this. This is all that this information to me. So why are we human beings susceptible to doom and gloom? Reason number 1 is negativity bias. That's it. The reason why paragraph number 1 exists is to answer the question as to why humans are so susceptible to the bad news, and to give the first reason, which is negativity bias. Wonderful. And the second paragraph starts with the word second, which means the purpose of the second paragraph is tell me the second reason. Let's find out. We are also burdened with availability bias. Wonderful. Okay, so we have got availability bias. 2 reasons. Wonderful. And then explanation of availability bias is given. We'll read it. If we can easily recall examples of a given thing, we assume that thing is relatively common. The fact that we are bombarded daily with horrific stories about aircraft disaster, child snatchers and beheadings, which tend to lodge in our memory, completely skews our views of the world. So what that means now is that what is availability bias? That is being explained. We recall things that is commonly seen, that we have a skewed perspective of the world. Okay, so far so good. There are 2 reasons, negativity bias and availability bias. That's what we keep saying. Alright, where is it moving? Paragraph number 3. In this digital age, okay, now the focus is come back to current age. Wonderful. The news we are being fed is only getting more extreme. In the old days, journalists didn't know much about their individual readers. They wrote for the masses. And the word but, or let's stay but, the people behind Facebook, Twitter and Google know you well. They know what shocks and horrifies you. They know what makes you click. They know how to grab your attention and hold it so that they can serve you the most lucrative helping of personalized ads. This modern media frenzy is nothing less than assault on the mundane. Now, I can already feel an emoji to be given to the author. The author is making a negative valuation of what's happening. They're pushing news for us because they want to put ads. This is nothing less assault on the mundane. Okay, because let's be honest, the lives of most people are pretty predictable, nice but boring. So while we prefer having nice neighbors with boring life, boring won't make you sit up and take notice. Nice doesn't sell ads, and so Silicon Valley keeps dishing us up ever more sensational clickbait, knowing fully well the Swiss novel is one script, that news is to the mind what sugar is to the body. Or they're saying that in today's age, we are only seeing bad news. Why? They want to sell, doesn't sell ad. So one end, the news media wants to sell ads. Therefore, what sells? Exciting news sells. Why? Because our life is boring. So if we keep getting boring, we'll not get it. So this is all the passages. So at this point in time, if we want to have a structure of the particular passage, the passage starts by saying we have got bad news. And for some reason, we like bad news. We like bad news. That is what he's saying. Author is saying why. There are two reasons. Reason number one, there is negativity bias. Reason number two is availability bias. Then the author goes on to say, look, we have got a problem. What is the problem? This media company is feeding us with exciting stuff. They want to feed us the exciting news because that is going to make them money. They want to be rich. That's what the media is doing. And we have a very boring life. We are like very boring life. So we want to look at the excitement. Our life is boring. So we look for the excitement. We want to get excitement. This is the story. That's all there is. This is a story. This is what I retained. That's it. This is all that we had to retain. Now the question is it good enough for us to answer all the questions? That's a question. Let's go to each question. Let's go to question number one. Which of the following, if true, would most weaken the author's argument? So don't worry what is weaken, strengthen. All we have to do is we have to now question the author's argument. Author is basically saying that, look, media. Okay, so that is what we know about author. Let's see. Behavioral traits that help us in the days where we are hunter-gatherers continue to be present in modern day humans. Okay, I remember, I can from here think that behavioral traits that help us recall in the days, that is talking about negative bias, right? So this is our negative bias. Continue to be present in the modern humans, so negative bias still exists. So that will support the argument. Answer choice number A is supporting the argument, not weakening. We have to look at what weakens, so let's chuck it. Behavioral traits that helped us in the days when we were hunter-gatherers are no longer found. Oh my God, if it is no longer found in modern humans, then negative bias is no longer there. If this statement is true, it is definitely going to weaken the author's argument. Our answer has to be answer choice number B. We can still check C and D. The negativity bias makes us more likely to be affected by depressing and sad news. Yes, of course. This strengthens. We have certain behavioral characteristics that affect how we perceive and are affected by sad news. Absolutely, there is no problem aligned to the passage. So we know that answer choice is B. I don't think that we have to go back to the passage to answer this question. We don't. This is good enough. This understanding that we have is good enough. Right? Let's go to question number 2. Which of the following is the author most likely to agree with? Yes, we have to get aligned with the author. You know what the author. You know the author. Media. Author's view towards media. We know the author. That's it. Contemporary media continuously exposes us to exciting news. So far, so good. That is true. Okay. And news information, which may be just like the things that we usually experience in our life. No, the second part is the problem. Our usual life is boring. News is exciting. This particular second part is a problem. Can't be the answer. Let's chuck answer choice number A. Ditch answer choice number A. Let's go to answer choice number B. Contemporary media continuously exposes us to exciting news. Wonderful. Media, exciting news. And which may be very unlike the kind of things we usually encounter in life. Absolutely, our life is boring. So answer choice B is a pick me. Maybe let's look at C. Contemporary media continuously exposes us to boring news. No. Media exposes us to exciting news. Contemporary media exposes us to boring news. No. Media exciting news. Answer choice is B. That's it. Let's go to question number 3. Based only on the author's statement, we'd prefer having nice neighbors with boring lives. And the author's argument about nature of news in the modern media exposes us to. Which of the following would be the author most likely to agree? Fair enough. But you think, okay, aligned to the author. We know what the author is going to say. We know what the author is about media. We know it. Okay, let's start one by one. Constantly being exposed to negative news gives us a warped perspective of the world. Now you see a sidetrack. We see sidetrack. Let me explain this. What is this warped perspective of the world coming from? Skewed perspective of the world. Which paragraph? We remember this. So if you look at the story, paragraph 1, paragraph 2 and paragraph 3, Paragraph 1 is actually talking about negative bias. Paragraph 2, if you remember, is talking about availability bias. Paragraph 3 is talking about modern media. And modern media does, and the fact that our life is boring. Now, this particular question that we have is specifically and catering to what is information paragraph number 3. And what is the question set to do? Give something from paragraph number 2. It may be true, but doesn't answer the question. An absolute sidetrack. Don't fall for this. In our hunting and gathering days, where is this? This is paragraph number 1. It is better for us to be honestly scared. Well, this is true statement, but this is from paragraph number 2. This is from paragraph number 1. But the question is talking about what happens in paragraph number 3. So therefore, the answer has to be there in paragraph number 3. These two again are sidetrack. This is also a sidetrack. This is a sidetrack. Look, the questions that is trying to trick us, we will not fall for it. The news modern media exposes us is just like a day-to-day experience. No, it is not. Our day-to-day experience is boring. Answer choice has to be D. The news modern media exposes us is very different from our day-to-day experience. In fact, this question is same as that question. This is the likely to agree. This is also likely to agree. It doesn't matter what the question type is, information there in the passage. Let's go to question number 4. The author talks about negativity bias. All right. The author's statement of negative bias, if true, provide more support which of the following conclusions. Okay. That means if whatever the author has said about negativity bias, if that is true, what can we draw from it? So all this doesn't matter conclusion, inferences. We just check the answer statement which is true based on the negativity bias. Now all we have to think about, there are going to be some sidetrack. Sidetracks are, you know what sidetrack is, right? Now you know. There'll be. Let's start. We are more likely to notice a story about billionaire donating. Then we are negativity bias. This is a positive news. Billionaires donating their money to charity than a story about airplane crash. No. This is out. This is a positive news. We want to look at negative news. We are more likely to be attracted by news article about rise in expectancy in our country than news article about murder in the city. No. This is a positive news. We have got negativity bias. We are more likely to notice a story about increasing pollution level. Wonderful. We have got a negative news. We like negative news more than improving education levels in the school, which is positive news, which means our answer has to be C. C is good. Look at D. We are more likely to form our opinion of the world based on information available to us rather than information we do not possess access to it. You know what happened here? Available. What is this talking? Answer choice D is okay. The statement is true based on the information that is given in the passage, but this is talking about availability bias. The question is actually asking us about negativity bias. This answer is talking about availability bias. This is a sidetrack. This is a sidetrack means this cannot be the answer. This goes, answer choice in this case has to be answer choice number C. Let's go to question number 5. Which of the following is the most effective way of countering the effect of what author describes as availability bias? We have got countering the effect, right? So which means we are only looking at a few things again to counter it. Maybe we have to go and see something else. Let's read. Ensuring that we do not seek out of the news. First of all, we want to counter something which is bad. So I want to see an answer choice which is saying something positive. These things that we have to ensure we do not seek out news sources and stories we may not otherwise have exposed to. Don't do anything. Sit here. Availability bias, we want to counter. To counter availability bias, sit and read what you already available. Does it make sense? Following only one news source and limiting a perspective. How is it countering the bias? Avoiding all positive news stories. Instead, only reading tragedies. What is all this? Answer choice has to be answer choice number D. Ensuring that we seek out news sources and stories that we may not otherwise been exposed to. Wonderful. Question number 6. The author says, the fact that we are bombarded daily with horrific stories about aircraft disasters, child snatchers, beheadings, which tend to lodge in the memory, completely skews our view of the world. If the conclusion the author draws in the argument, the conclusion the author draws in the argument follows logically if which of the following is assumed, which means we need to have a statement which protects this statement. That's what assumption is, no? Protection. Assumption protects. Assumption is something that is necessary for the statement. Assumption protects. We can simply say what is the conclusion that is being drawn. It completely skews our world. We give a narrow perspective. Reason is because we are bombarded daily with horrible story. All we got to do is link those things. What we see shapes our world, shapes our view. What we read shapes our view. That is the connection. Our ideas about the world are shaped by the information we are exposed to. Absolutely. This is what is needed for this. Now look at this. Modern media is concerned only about massive profit. This may be a true statement. This is a sidetrack. First of all, there is only as a word, which itself is a problem. That's an extreme word. And then here, we don't require this. This is a statement that is talking about availability bias. This has gone to paragraph number 3. Modern journalist, paragraph number 3. Humans were hunter-gatherers. Where is it? Somewhere else. All sidetracks. That said, so what does this mean? You can handle logical reasoning. My suggestion is to go back, look at all the past CLAT papers. Obviously, the pattern where you have, I think from 2020, look at all the CLAT and solve all the logical reasoning questions. You'll be at peace. Now you go study.